Well, still can't really breathe out of this thing. Well, anytime I start a Star Wars video, I bring the old Stormtrooper helmet out just because, well, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Ladies and gentlemen, of YouTube and the Star Wars world, I just need to start off this video. The Acolyte is just trash. It's just bad. It's horrendous. It's horrible. It's any word that you can come up with. Any word in the dictionary that explains something bad, you can use it to describe the Acolyte. Now, this video, this video was meant to come out yesterday, but I didn't get around the time to making it. Actually, I had a really big headache, so that's kind of why that didn't happen. And besides, I needed to catch up on some sleep since the previous night I spent watching The Acolyte, and I didn't sleep till 6, and yeah, that was not great. But yeah, Star Wars The Acolyte. Now, okay, here's the thing about this show. Personally for me, was that I had really not that many high expectations for this particular show. And a part of that is because of really, more or less because of the amount of more information that we heard about The Acolyte. Now, The Acolyte has been in production, or it's been announced since 2020. And first of all, when The Acolyte came out, or when it was announced that Leslie Headland would spearhead the show, that she would be the main creator voice of the show. Now, for those who don't know who Leslie Headland is, Leslie Headland was the personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, who was a well-known, I'm pretty sure, he was a registered sex offender or something like that. Basically, he did some inappropriate stuff with a lot of women that I just will not say on here. And immediately, a lot of people were probably turned off because they hired this woman who might have known something, but that's besides the point. The point of the matter is that The Acolyte was already getting a bad rap immediately right off the bat. Probably it was getting much more of a bad rap than any of the other shows that they announced during that time. I don't think any of the other shows were received, were taken well. Like in that same announcement, they also announced the Obi-Wan show, and then Ahsoka, and all these different kinds of all these shows and all that sort of stuff. So, point of the matter is that The Acolyte was already getting a bad rap, and then last year they revealed more and more information. They announced that it was going to come out this year in 2024, and immediately some of the actors went off on that stage and said some very controversial stuff, especially one of the actors saying there's no good and evil in Star Wars. That got a lot of people's blood boiling. This is Star Wars we're talking about, where good and evil is heavily a thing. So there's that. But however, though, I think really the show just really then began to really... honestly, when the first trailers came out, I kind of knew I wasn't going to watch the show right away. I wasn't going to tune in each and every single week to watch this show. And that is exactly what happened. So I didn't watch the show as it came out. I decided that, hey, I don't want to do that. It was also because of how I was really disappointed with the Star Wars show, Tales of the Empire. I just kind of need a little break from Star Wars, and well, I might be on that other Star Wars break here because of The Acolyte. Now, already this show was very controversial for a lot of things, but I'll get into that here in a moment. So now that I've watched all episodes of The Acolyte, now that I all digested them all in one sitting, when I did see some clips and bits from the show, and in all honesty, I was not impressed. I was very not impressed. I want to go ahead and mention some good things about this show so far. Okay, I want to mention the good, and I will be really honest here. The good's kind of low. The first good thing about this show was it's a new story in a different timeline, which this is taking place in the High Republic timeline. You know, I really like how the Jedi were all in these golden kind of robes and all that sort of stuff. It looked kind of cool. However, when there's a positive, there's a negative. It just kind of didn't feel like it came from a different era still, because this is still 100 years before Phantom Menace, so we're not really in the High Republic era. If this show would have taken place at least 500 years, at least before Phantom Menace, then maybe I could have been a lot more convinced. I like how they introduced some new spaceships instead of your normal ones, so that was a good change of pace. What was it too? One other thing I did like was Soul. Jedi Master Soul. That actor, I forget the actor's name. He's the actor from Squid Game. From that Korean show that was on Netflix and all that sort of stuff. He fits the role really well as a Jedi. He really does. And that's really all I have for the positives of this show. Now it's time for the next. Okay, I guess one positive thing was that I did think that the Sith Lord that's in the show, the Stranger, they're calling him, I thought he was cool. I don't know, his helmet, I don't know. I know a lot of people have made fun of it being a gimp suit or Smilo Ren, but I think it looks kind of interesting and cool. But this show has a lot of issues going for it, and I think the biggest issue is the writing. Now, bad writing can really tank a show. And even before this, I've watched all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, and I saw how bad writing can really derail a show. That is a really prevalent example of that, how Game of Thrones had excellent writing in the first 4 seasons, but then when they got to really season 7 and 8 is really when the writing tanked. And the main problem is that a lot of the characters in the show do really non-logical things. They make really dumb choices, and that is really where it's really the biggest problem. For example, we got this character called May, who's this assassin character, and her task is to kill 4 Jedi, and in all those instances, she announces her name and tries to basically kill them. I don't know. I don't think that's how assassins work. That might be, if she was like a bounty hunter or something like that, then yeah, maybe she would have ought to do that. But I mean, like, no bounty hunters are going to be going after Jedi, unless you maybe, I don't know, a Mandalorian, but Jango Fett is not around during this time span, so that's just that. But also just illogical things, like this other character called Osha is being kept a prisoner. But why didn't one of these main Jedi characters named Yord, why didn't you just bring her along in your own ship? Why did you just put her in this containment ship with just other scoundrels and all that sort of stuff? It just makes no logical sense. There's also just some other things too that just make no goddamn sense. Like, for example, there's this fucking gopher character. I know the character has a name, but I don't care. There's this fucking gopher character that is like, there's this chase scene in space where Soul is trying to like take down a starfighter, right? And then this gopher character starts pulling the wires out, and that then, of course, causes the ship to lose its turbo, its laser guns. What is this? Like, what's the purpose of that gopher character? And when I watched this, I kind of thought to myself, I bet that's Warwick Davis underneath that damn fucking gopher suit, because Warwick Davis is just desperate for anything fucking Star Wars after he played that one Ewok. What was the purpose of that gopher character? I don't know. What's the purpose of the gopher? I have no clue. But the biggest issue when it comes down to this series is just, yeah, the writing is just the overall thing that just tanks tier 2. But another thing about this show that really also kills it is basically this show amazingly in 8 episodes has killed the lore of Star Wars more than The Rise of Skywalker. And that's a pretty big title to hold. So, not only does, so in The Rise of Skywalker, that pretty much destroys Anakin's legacy because Palpatine somehow returns and the prophecy of the Chosen One's not fulfilled. You know that scene in episode 6 where freaking Darth Vader then turns back into Anakin and he throws, Sidious or, Emperor Palpatine off of the cliff, or not the cliff, but off the railing, and then he falls down to his death and killing the Sith. That was undone, but now that's even undone here. And of course, and what happens is that in the third episode, we get a little bit more backstory on the two main twin characters named May and Osha, which I just need to outright say, why did you make these two characters twins? Or why did you make this character a twin? Why did you have this Amanda Stenberg play two twins? They don't act the same. They don't act different. It just sounds like the same character. It doesn't make sense why they're twins in the first place. So now these twins right here. So basically what happens is that these two twins were born into this cult of witches. Now, I know a lot of people have taken issue with them calling the Force the thread, but I personally don't have an issue with it because naturally the Force, naturally in the Star Wars universe, I don't think there's one idea of the Force. Kind of similar to here in real life how, there's different religions, there's Christianity, or there's, Judaism, or, something like that. However, though, the issue here is that really is with how they described these two twins. They basically said that they were created via the Force. There was a virgins in the Force that created them. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. Isn't that how Anakin was created? Because again, if you know the lore of Star Wars, Darth Plagueis was trying to create this, being, which then turned into Anakin, right? That to Anakin, which then Anakin, and then of course when Qui-Gon heard from Shmi in the Phantom Menace that Anakin had no father, and when they did the test on his midichlorian count, he came to the conclusion, holy shit, this kid is the chosen one. But now that's the exact same story here. So basically what you have here is that you're whole entirely just recycling the plot of Anakin, and it just seems like now, it's just that simple, just to create these two girls into one. Now the biggest thing that makes it different here was that the Force, or these two witches, one Dathomirian chick and then one lesbian black chick right here, created two twins. And it's revealed later on that they're supposed to be the same person, but they're just split in birth or something like that. So you meant to tell me that anyone can do that? That some shit like this? I mean, okay, now I'm not saying that Anakin's not maybe the only one, but again, when you think about this, okay, I might redact what I said about that. Now, Darth Plagueis, as we all know, his main goal was to try and to create, life. He was trying to create this being and all that sort of stuff, which of course turned out to be Anakin. Now, maybe, the Sith were trying to do this for 1,000, maybe generations and all that sort of stuff. And I know a lot of people are going to say that, this Darth Plagueis, which he does appear in the show, by the way, he sees this and he thinks to himself, you know what, there's a possibility to do this. And then, of course, he dedicates his whole life to trying to learn this secret. But again, this overall just destroy Anakin's character and his importance to Star Wars. Anakin is the main character of Star Wars. So the Acolyte, the Last Jedi, and the Rise, or really the Acolyte and the Rise of Skywalker, they destroy Anakin. Yeah. Do you see how this is just nonsensical? And do you see how just idiotic this is? Now, that's not the idiotic part. The biggest thing that really does bother me in this show, and this is the big thing that bothers me, is that, and this is the big thing that's been going on, and that is when that first trailer came out and when we saw that red lightsaber come into the picture, a lot of fans were like, wait, hold on a minute. There's a lot of these Jedi right here in a forest, and they're fighting against a Sith Lord. Now, for those who don't know, and even motherfucking Ki-Adi-Mundi said this. Impossible, the Sith have been extinct for millennia. And now here in this show, we just have a Sith Lord fighting against all these Jedi in a forest. How is that not going to get to the Jedi Council, and to the rest of the Jedi Order? How is that not? And they just do a bad job at explaining this. And to top that all off, there's this whole entire scene which also has Ki-Adi-Mundi in it, which is a big fucking middle finger to all the Star Wars fans who are real Star Wars fans and understand the lore. They're saying, how could a trained Force user do this? How could this trained Force user do this? You know, and all that sort of stuff. He must have been trained by Jedi. Hey, maybe, just possibly, maybe it was a Sith Lord. Now, I have to imagine that when the Jedi are training, they probably are taught about the Sith. Okay? I feel like that, like that's logical. And when a Jedi is training, that should be the first thing they should learn, is that, hey, the dark side there's this powerful thing called the dark side and all that sort of stuff. And then these beings, these other Jedi, then faction off and create their own order called the Sith. And they, of course, create their own order and all that sort of stuff. Hell, even Qui-Gon Jinn knew who the Sith was. So clearly, the Sith were taught as lessons, and all that sort of stuff to Jedi. Now, of course, the normal people in the galaxy won't know won't know what the Sith is, because the Sith teachings have been outright banned. That's how, at least that was how it was in Legends, which again just goes to show how Legends is just so amazing and how they describe the storytelling. But no one really thought, hey, could it possibly be a Sith Lord that could have maybe done this, that trained a Force user to go out and to kill a whole bunch of Jedi? And then I also gotta really just hate this, is that by the end of the story, what happens is that, and I know I'm not really getting really deep into the meat and potatoes, but this is the main part of the show that just really bothers me a lot. And that is, so the secret of the Sith is hidden, and these whole entire events that have been happening, the killings of the Jedi Masters, the Wookiee Jedi, Trinity, and Torin. Yeah, Torin, the Torin who fell off the window in Game of Thrones. I know they have real names, but I don't fucking care. And then the other killings of the other characters, X-23 was in there as well, and all that sort of stuff. What happens is that this green bald chick, who, by the way, who's the wife of the director of this show, Leslie Headland, nepotism, it's a bitch. So this chick right here basically covers up the whole story and just basically blames Soul, blackmails Soul. And then also, by the way, Soul dies in the most stupidest way just ever possible. And it's just like, and even, and Soul has this secret right here. Now, the secret is that he killed Mayanosh's mother. Which, honestly, when you think about it, she was doing this dark magic kind of stuff, and then the other kid was turning into this black smoke too. Soul saw this, and rightfully so, he acted quickly and killed. I mean, I don't know, and I didn't really know what Soul was thinking at that point. He just was trying to stop the mother from doing this, and he kills Mayanosh's mother on accident. But what's done here is that he didn't even try to even explain to May or Osha, this is why I killed your mother. It was just a simple goddamn accident. An accident and something that was not the Jedi way. Killing was not the Jedi way, and he probably feels so guilty about that. And then they just kill him just right then and there. Now, I felt like that soul was going to die either way because, hey, he fought against the Sith Lord, and I think he was going to die either way, but he could have maybe just, I don't know. I just don't fucking know at this point, man. And then in the end, they try to wrap this whole entire stuff up by having the Sith Lord erase the mind of May, and then Osha goes off to become a Sith Lord, and then they're basically just looking at the sunset and holding hands. That's not how it's supposed to work. Though basically Osha turned to the dark side and was with this stranger. Or was with the stranger character, or whatever his fucking name is. I don't fucking care. So, what does that ending tell you? And what does the show tell you? It makes the Jedi look so bad. Now, here's the thing is that of course the Sith are going to think the Jedi are bad, because of course they do. They're the bad guys, and they're just, hate, revenge, and all that sort of shit clouds their judgment and all that sort of stuff. But what does this show tell you? This show tells you the Jedi are bad, but the Sith, they're actually the good guys? What is this? What is this show? What is this shit? And then they try to bring in other characters from other pieces of Star Wars. Like they had to put in Darth Plagueis in there, which is just like, why is he there? Why? I know why. So those Disney shills can get all excited, like, look, I've seen Darth Plagueis, the fucking wise. And then also the little cameo by Yoda. So what is this green chick gonna tell you? Oh hey, Master Yoda, I basically covered up all this. Hey, Master Yoda, there might be a Sith Lord out there that might be my former apprentice. So what does that tell you? Does that tell you that Yoda knew that the Sith were back and were operating? Fucked up shit that I did. Go back to my chambers and smoke weed I do. That's probably what Yoda's been doing throughout this whole entire show. Smoking pot I do here. Guys, this show, it's so bad. It's just so bad. This show, not only is just so mid, but it completely destroys George. It completely, and they even said it. They were gonna go away from George Lucas's story, and they shown that. Star Wars just cannot recover from this. At this point, it's just like, Star Wars is just, I won't say it's a dead franchise, because Disney are still going to pump out more and more spin-offs on these characters and all that sort of stuff. They're just going to keep doing that. But this show was run by this woman who doesn't understand Star Wars. And by the way, this whole entire stuff was approved by Dave Filoni, which further makes me hate the guy even damn more. Yeah. I mean, at this point, why bother watching? Why bother even watching anymore? Why bother go to these? Why should I even bother watching these shows? Why should I do that? Why should I spend my time and watch these shows? I could be doing, and I have been doing a lot of stuff. Going to the gym, studying for school to come up. I'm getting ready to go back to school again, all that sort of stuff. Also, been watching other shows. I need to keep catch up on House of the Dragons. So at this point, Star Wars is just a dead franchise. That's it, guys. I just can't say anymore. I think I made my point clear. The Acolyte is just bad, and there's no way Star Wars can recover from this. That is unless Disney does a whole entire reset. They fire these incompetent directors. They get Dave Filoni's bitch ass out of that company. And they take a long ass break from live action Star Wars media. And maybe, possibly maybe, put out a new movie that takes place in a new timeline. A new story with new characters. And people who understand this stuff. You know, this show really does remind me of. Reminds me of. It does kind of remind me a little bit of Game of Thrones. How David and Dan completely took a shit on George R.R. Martin's legacy. And now with these new, and now they're coming out with new Game of Thrones projects. And now George R.R. Martin has said, "Hey, I'm going to be part of these new projects now. I'm going to be heavily involved." It makes me really wish at least one George cares about his project. The other George, named Lucas, doesn't really care. And more power to him. So that's going to be it, guys. I hope you all enjoy this video. I know people are going to probably argue with me, saying I'm wrong. And you know what? I don't care. I don't care. Say how wrong I am. I don't care. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.